Good morning. Excited to announce that we're going to resume the Reb Tzadok Shir this morning at 9:15. Learning for the season, not Tzidkas HaTzadik, but Taikonas HaShoven. So if you're coming and you have a sefer, that would make it much better. We're learning Hilchos Shaliach Tzibbur, and there's a din in the Gemara. It's not and quoted almost exactly in Shulchan Aruch, and that din is that if you're asked to lead the Tefillah, you have to be Mesarev. You have to say, hesitate. Mesarev means you have to hesitate. Lashon of the Shulchan Aruch is, Misha Einoi Shaliach Tzibbur Kavod. If you're not the regular Shaliach Tzibbur, now that could be in one of two scenarios, or two main scenarios. Number one, let's say you're the Chazan, and you're the one who's leading the Tefillah all the time. That's your job. So that's a Shaliach Tzibbur Kavua. Nobody's asking him anything. He's done. The Tzibbur already kind of voted on that guy. So that's one thing. The other thing is if a person is a quote-unquote chiyuv. So if a person's a chiyuv, so you become the Shaliach Tzibbur Kavua. Also, that has to be with the Haskamas HaTzibbur. There's no such thing as without the Haskamas HaTzibbur becoming a Shaliach Tzibbur Kavua. But once it's been established that you're a Shaliach Tzibbur Kavua, or you're part of a rotation, or however the Gabayim decide it should be, so then you don't have this halacha does not apply to you. However, if you're not a Shaliach Tzibbur Kavua, Tzarech L'Sarev, and it tells you exactly what you're supposed to do. This is actually the language of the Gemara. Tzarech L'Sarev Me'at Kodem Shieri Lifnei Ateva. In other words, this is not a whole demonstration. It's a gesture. And the gesture is somebody comes and asks you to daven, so you give a little hesitation, and then you go to daven. Tzarech L'Sarev Ma'at Kodem Shieri Lifnei Ateva. V'lo yoser midai. You don't have to get carried away with this. Elopam Rishona Mesarev. This is the way it goes. The first time you're asked to daven Mesarev, you say no, or you hesitate. Mesarev doesn't mean to say no, it means hesitate. So the Gabbai then says, come on, please daven. So then, so then you start fixing yourself. Okay, I'm ready. Ubepam shlishis. In the meantime, the impatient Gabbai is saying, just go and daven. So he's there. Ubepam shlishis yamoid. Let's say the person who's asking him to daven is an adam gadol. I'm not sure what the definition of that is. Einoi Mesarev like klal. Klal in the Gemara you find in Shas. Ein Mesarevin legadol. If a gadol asks you to do anything, you don't hesitate. What does it mean? Anything, meaning like if you're mischabed with a dvar mitzvah, so that's not a place for anivus. Now, I just want to bring out one thing. Rav Sternbach, Shlita, he has a sefer Tshuvas Van Hagos, and in here, Arachaim Kuf Yud Beis, he says that all this doesn't apply any longer. Doesn't apply any longer because it used to be a time that the Shaliach Tzibbur was being motzi the Tzibbur, like in other words, he was the Baki, and then everybody else was an Eino Baki. They didn't even have a sitter, and he's leading the Chazaras Hashatz, and therefore, that was a big Kavod. And now you have to pravas amanivus if there's such a big Kavod, and not jump to it just because you're considered the Baki. Meaning, I think if I understand his words correctly, what he's saying is nobody's saying you're a big Baki. You don't have to get all humble about this. Nobody's saying you're a big Baki. He's just asking you to daven. So he says that it doesn't even apply nowadays, but he concludes that at the end, no poskim agree with him, which is true. No poskim agree with him. I looked around and all the poskim, and they including the Mishnah Berurah, and they say no, the halacha still applies. And the reason is because it doesn't. First, there's two things I think. Number one is we are makbid, the Mishnah Berurah says, on every din shliach tzibur, just because there's a din you have to say the Chazar Hashatz. He's leading Kaddish, he's leading Baruch Hu. There's a lot of things that you need a Shaliach Tzibbur to do. So even though he's not the Baki that's being mostly the ain't no Baki, he's still doing a big job over there, and he has to, it's still a Kavod. It's still a Kavod. That's the first thing. The second thing is something that I saw in some of the Achreinim, and they say that the pshat in this halacha is different completely. This is not to show that I'm an onav. What kind of a dance is it anyway? I go to the guy, he says no, and then he starts to move a little bit. It's such a, it feels like not a authentic thing. So the answer is, it doesn't have to be authentic. A lot of times when we do something, we do it because that's the proper gesture to make. We say hello to everybody. You don't have to think 100 times to say before you say Shalom Aleichem. Am I sincere? Or am I not sincere? That's the way Yiddishkeit works. That we do certain gestures which make us think to ourselves that, hey, this is a kavod and I should be humble about this, as opposed to somebody going to the Amud as a big Baal Gaiva. Okay, I'll daven, stop bothering me. It's a gaiva. So the idea is that a lot of time, it seems to me that what the Gemara means in Brachos Memches is that these gestures are important, particularly when you're amongst the tzibur. These gestures are important. There's a way to do it, and the way to do it is not to do it in the way a Baal Gaiva would do it, but to do it in a way that a Anav would do it. The Shulchan Aruch and the Gemara says further that Mesarev Me'at, even after three times saying, no, I'm not right, I'm not the right person to daven. So then that's Yuhara. That's what I call inverted snobbery. Meaning that's even a bigger guy, like I'm an anav. There's no way I could do that. I'm not right. That's like that's like Yuhara. Yuhara is a little bit different than gaiva, but one way or the other. So what you got to do is get this right balance here, and the whole dance here should take less than 3 seconds, in my opinion. It's not something that has to go out for a long time, because, as Rav Sternbach writes, whatever you paskin, you got to remember that Tzibur is waiting, and that's the most important thing, to accommodate the Tzibur in this.